Assalamu alaikum students. Now we are going to start passive tenses after completing our active tenses. First of all, let me tell you what is a passive voice. A passive voice is a structure of is a series of tenses in which the subject is not involved. For example, if I say Ali writes a letter, so who writes a letter? Ali. But if I say a letter is written, so who writes a letter? Obviously the person, the doer is not involved there or not visible, so it is a passive voice. In Urdu, like मैं कहता हूँ कि मैं खत लिखता हूँ, so कौन लिखता है? मैं, subject is there. But if I say खत लिखा जाता है, I just remove myself कि मैं खत लिखता हूँ, so it will become a passive voice. This is a simple case, but it is not like as simple. There are several complications, but not as complicated, which I am going to define. Actually, I have tried to define the whole scenario of passive tenses by giving only 4 major points. If you remember these 4 major points, so you can learn the passive voice and their structures as well. First of all, rule number one is that in all the passive tenses we will have the same identities of active voice. Usually it is said, if anybody knows riding a cycle or even a bike, so he or she can drive a car as well. Same is the case here. If anybody knows active voice, it is very easy for him or her to understand or to learn passive voice. How? Let me define. If you know the identities of active voice in Urdu, like raha tha is your past continuous, ta hai is present indefinite, raha hai is present continuous. Same is the case. The identities will remain same as active and passive. So first point is that the identities which you have learned in your active voice tenses, it will remain fixed as like same as in passive tenses. Second point, we will be using only third form of verb. In active tenses sometimes we use first form, sometimes we use second, and only I think in past indefinite we use second form of verb. Apart from past indefinite we never use second form of verb, but yes, we use third form of verb in most of the tenses, and we use fourth form of the verb, which is first form plus ing in active tenses. But in passive tenses we will be using only third form of verb, which will remain fixed and constant for all the tenses regardless of their time, either it is present, past or future. It makes no difference at all. So remember this point. Now if I talk about the structure of passive tenses, we will be having only 2 things there: subject plus verb. There will be no involvement of your subject. We will only have object plus verb. For example, as I told you, khat likha jata hai, letter is written. You will use only letter is written. You will not add your subject. I write a letter. So simply a letter is written. Letter is your object and written is your verb. That's all. You should have only 2 things, object plus verb. If you have these 2 things, your structure is complete. But remember, in passive voice there is no concept of your subject. You will not have your subject. The doer will not be visible or present there. Now the last point, and I think the most important one, how to identify a passive tense. As I have told you, the identities will remain fixed. The identities which were in active, same will be in passive voice. Then a question rises here: if the identities are fixed and same, then how can we identify either the tense is an active voice or passive voice? So now I am giving you a very important example. For example, if I say like Ali ko mara jata hai, so you can see Ali ko mara jata hai. If you want to identify either this respective tense is an active voice or passive voice, so in Urdu, let me explain that. Ali ko mara jata hai. First of all, you have to locate your verb. What is the verb here? Here verb is marna. So after locating or identifying your verb, get the second answer and follow your verb. इस verb को follow करें और ये निकालें इस verb को, either the performer of that verb is available or present or not. If the performer or like the doer of this action is present there, then it will be an active voice. If the doer or the performer of this action is not available, it must be a passive voice. Ali को मारा जाता है, verb है मारना, so मारने वाला मौजूद है, there is no one, so this is a passive voice. you are not supposed to have you are not supposed to get deceived by the name of the subject. If you see अली को मारा जाता है, आपने जैसे अली का नाम देखा आप कहें ये तो एक्टिव है क्योंकि अली इन्वॉल्व है, ऐसा नहीं है. अली को मारा जाता है, बेसिकली अली इज योर ऑब्जेक्ट हियर, इट इज नॉट योर सब्जेक्ट. रिमेंबर दिस थिंग दैट अली, ही, शी, इट, these type of verb, it is not necessary or compulsory that these, whenever you have these type of words, so you when you see these type of verb and you decide that now this must be your active voice because this is your subject, it is not as always true. It could be your object, as I have mentioned here in the examples. Ali ko mara jata hai, but if I say Hasan Ali ko marta hai, if I add the doer of the action marna, marne wala add kar diya jaye, it will become an active voice. So the main crux of the story is that the identification, how to identify a passive voice. First of all, locate your verb and then see the performer of that verb is available or not. If he or she is available, then it is an active voice, and if he or she means like the performer of that verb is not available, it is a passive voice. So same is the case. I have defined the main crux of the story of passive tenses. If you remember these 4 rules of passive tenses, the next topic, the coming series of tenses will become so easy for you. Now after this I am going to start present simple passive tense, which is a very important lecture. I must suggest you to keep watching my next series. It will really help you in terms of learning basic tenses. And if you like my way of teaching, the number is on your screen. Just pay your fee, get your class timing fixed and start your course. Thank you very much.